So look, thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and could I share in the welcome for the 50th birthday. They say you can, as a surgeon at least, they say you can only heal with steel. But far be it from that. Arthritis affects lots of people. 1 in 5 Australians has arthritis. And 50% of people over the age of 65 actually have symptomatic arthritis being treated. And in my line, 100,000 people have joint replacements every year. Most of them do really well. It's one of the most cost-effective and clinically effective treatments for end-stage arthritis. The only problem is, not everyone comes out with a good result. Not everyone has the sort of desired effect that they want, despite the best of surgery and the best of prostheses. And one of the problems that we have to work with is how do you identify people who may not do well? And what drives the burden of disease is the fact that we are a very healthy society. We're getting a lot older, we're getting a lot heavier, we're playing a lot of sports, so we get a lot of injuries. And it is said that by 2030, 2040, if we don't do anything about it, what's going to happen is every bed in Australia could be filled with someone waiting a joint replacement. So the same was said about osteoporosis around 2000. They said that unless we did something for how we should manage osteoporosis, by 2030, that was 30 years from the time of that article, every bed in Australia would be filled with someone with a broken hip. So you see, something was done about that. Treatments were looked for. Exercise programs, healthy living, all those things were brought in, and we managed to turn the tide on that. So arthritis is yet another thing we have to think about. How do we deal with that? Well, it starts with prevention, it starts with education, and the reason why it's important is because our children, my 4 girls, your 4 boys, whoever it is, we should get them to meet, but that's another story. Just to keep them out of trouble, because you are good folk. They are at risk, and we have to do something about that. We have to make sure that they remain healthy. They play sport and they are careful. They eat well and they are careful. And if they were to ever get arthritis, they should seek the right treatment and be careful as well. And it's the right treatment for the right patient at the right time that we need to think about. And what MSK Australia has done is really gone to the patients and said, look, we know you have an issue. It's not really a disease, it's just a state, a condition, a gummy knee. You're actually very healthy. How do we keep you going? What do you need to remain healthy, mobile, independent? So as an academic, I do a lot of research. MSK Australia has been one of the great sponsors of our work. We look at how do you predict who's going to do well and who's going to do badly after surgery. We do research that is sponsored that helps us find out how do you align a surgeon's decision-making process with a patient's decision-making process. We want to know that if you are going to have surgery, how do we do it in a way that is the most efficient, effective, and cost-effective at the same time? Because, you know, if you think of national debt, the United Kingdom has a national debt that is 100% of GDP. It means everything they earn, they pay to a debt. And you'd be pleased to know in Japan, it's 250% GDP. So they borrow money to pay their debt. In Australia, it sits around about 30-odd%, depending on who you look at. The World Bank will tell you one thing. But it means we still have time to innovate. We don't have to sack people to save money. We can be smart about what we do. And if it's not for people and groups like MSK Australia, universities, researchers from around the globe, all chipping together, trying to find and focusing on the people who they wish to target, the consumer, we probably wouldn't be at that level of research that we've managed to achieve. Tonight, It gives me great pleasure to introduce Cindy Batchelor. Cindy was an executive general manager for NAB Business, bringing together one of the largest teams in banking, for small business banking, personal banking. And she has a very personal story to tell us. And I ask you to join me in welcoming Cindy to the podium.